So let's get comfortable in our seats, whatever that means for you. Let the chair support you as the earth supports the chair. And let's take in a good breath. And release whatever is ours to let go of right now. And that's often different each day. We know we can release, and if we need to pick that up again after service, we know it will be there waiting. But we can let go of it for right now. And just be here in this time. This morning we acknowledge that we are at peace with ourselves, with our friends, and with our world. And even though things may be hustling and bustling and swirling around us, certainly on the global stage, if nowhere else, we can still, in our own center, find our own peace. So let's be there for a couple of minutes right now. Go to that place that represents for you your own peace. It might simply be a place of silence, or it might be a spot on a beach, hearing the waves, or by a creek, hearing the ripple of that water, or in the woods, hearing those birds rustling around and singing their songs. So claim that space as yours right now. And be there in peace. So as we return to this place and time, we bring with us that calm, that peace of that place we just were. And we know it's accessible to us every minute of every day. Whenever we need it, we can make the choice to go there and to return when we're ready. And with that we say, amen. Amen. So this morning is Mother's Day, and the title of my message is It's All About You. And it's all about you in a few different ways. It's all about you, and if it's all about you, it's also about everyone you touch, right? If it's about you, it's also about everyone around you. And one of the things we're going to do this morning, as I get deeper into my message, is we have a team, Betty and Cindy and I actually put this together with some other resources, a survey. So we can ask you, if it's all about you and the people you touch, then what do you want to see out of Unity of Payson? So that's one of the places that we're going to go this morning. The other way it's all about you is that our focus this month out of the 12 powers is on divine power. And when we think of power in a divine way, it's actually the life force. It's energy. It's pure energy, divine energy. So we can also put that in this context of it's all about you, right? And everyone you touch. What is your energy? What is your divine energy? And how does that impact people around you? super mom, right? And talk about divine power, right? Anyone in this role, the formal, official role of mother, or as our daily word this morning said, anyone who has provided that kind of help and guidance in your life. Super mom. You know, nowadays it's be all of it, right? A lot of us don't, seems like there's not a lot of choice, but we also, whoops, I don't want to knock that over. I'll acknowledge I made the choice to see if I could kind of be most of it, right? Maybe not all of it, pretty much most of it at the same time. So when Zoya was little, she called me mommy daddy. Because, you know, we sometimes think, we sometimes think stereotypically about what a mommy does and what a daddy does. And it was on me to kind of do pretty much all of that. So I might be repairing something or taking something apart, putting it back together, right? Whatever those kinds of things were that needed to be done, mommy, daddy, okay? And I also know among us, we probably have daddy mommies, right? Daddies who also find themselves providing what we sometimes think of as stereotypical role, mommy, you know, the nurturing, doing those kinds of things. We all have a job to do that. Oh yeah, so there's our daddy mommy. And here's another way to think about mom. Captures a lot of it. Housekeeper, nurse, teacher, journalist, party planner, hostess, stylist, personal shopper, spiritual advisor. Check that out, right there in the middle. Psychiatrist, taxi driver, photographer, secretary, chef. Okay. All kinds of things. There's another look at mommy, right? Which is certainly mommy and mommy daddy. Okay, all rolled together. I thought this was fun. 92% of moms agree that there's no tougher job than being a mom. The other 8% are rocket scientists. So there are a few people in the world who think, maybe there's a tougher job than being a mom. And I can see a coal miner for sure would be one of those. So, you know, and part of the mom role is that sense of humor, right? Is that sense of humor, being able to hang on to that, even during the times you're going, I didn't sign up for this, right? Or I didn't think I signed up for this. But still, maintaining that sense of humor to help move us forward. It occurs to me that a really important thing about filling this mommy, daddy, daddy, mommy role is creativity, right? Being able, like the old adage, being able to make lemonade out of lemons, right? Creativity, being able to look at any given day and say, what can we make out of this day? Being able to look at your kid's life and saying, what can I help this kid make out of his or her life? Right? So there's a lot of this about creativity, and interestingly enough, this again dovetails with our theme for the month of divine power, divine energy, right? Using that energy in a creative kind of building way. So there's a piece of creativity. Can you see the two hands in that? Isn't that neat? So sometimes creativity can be kind of exotic. Or sometimes it can be pretty simple. Everybody see that now? The banana parts? Isn't that cute? And Albert Einstein, creativity is intelligence having fun. That's all it is, intelligence having fun. And I think sometimes, you know, I've heard way too many adults say, oh, I'm not creative. Whoa, hold a minute. Drop that thought. Aren't we all creative? Yes. I'm going to say that I want everybody to repeat with me. I am creative.
I am creative.
I'm going to say and then repeat with me. I create every day.
I create every day.
Don't you?
Yes. Don't you?
Don't you create something every day? The last couple of days, Shane has been working on an application she needs to complete to go to the Unity conference. And first she looked at these questions and I think just totally freaked out. Okay. But then we kind of got back to, because it asked, why do you want to go to this camp? Right? What do you bring to other people who will be at this camp? What challenges might you face at this camp? So it's interesting to me because she's not gone to the Unity camp before, but that they ask these questions of these 12, 13, and 14-year-olds so they can have a conscious intention of why am I going here and what do I bring to this experience. And it really is, again, a matter of being creative, of tapping into, why do I really want to go there? What do I bring of myself? Divine power, divine energy, creativity, it all goes together. And we create not just as individuals, but as groups. Some of us are reading right now, and some of us have previously also read this book by Ellen Debenhart called The 5 Principles. And one of the things she talks in there about is, this is her statement from her book. And it's so simple, but it struck me, and I highlighted it the first time I read the book. And every time I continue to reread the book, this sentence strikes me. We create not just as individuals, but as groups. And boy, does that fit with what we're doing here, right? At Unity of Payson. That we are creating something as a group. When Shin goes to the Unity camp, they'll be creating something as a group. They'll be creating an environment, an atmosphere. They'll be kind of recreating themselves while they're there. I know when you came home from the Prescott, the little overnighter at Prescott, one of the things you talked about afterwards, do you remember what you told us about afterwards when you came back? Meditation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That Shing had an experience with meditation. That she went, wow. We went into silence and I felt really rejuvenated afterwards. These examples of how we recreate ourselves all the time and creating as groups. There was a piece in the paper, probably many of you saw, because it's not unlike our situation. Church closes, long run, with a surprising act of charity. Did you all see that?
Yeah.
The Southern Baptist Church gave their church for $1 to Expedition. And Expedition has been meeting at JRE Elementary School for 5 years. They've been meeting over there. I'm just going to read you a couple of paragraphs here. Since its inception, 6 years ago, Expedition has held its Sunday services at Julia Randall School's cafeteria, meeting early to set up chairs, music equipment, and then taking it all down again. They must struggle with bad acoustics and a lack of identity. And don't we, the same thing, a lack of identity. I know a couple of years ago, one of the people who was coming to church said, when I look for my church during the week, it's not here. And of course, it's always here inside of us, but the fixture of Unity of Payson is not here in the week, during the week. And Expedition said the same thing, that lack of identity. Wrap it up after, noon on Sunday. The spiritual leader over there says, we started the church because we felt like a lot of churches in town are of a certain type of people. We appeal to a different demographic. Isn't that's, kind of, not that we appeal to the same demographic they do, but, a similar thing, that we appeal to a different demographic. While we have the same beliefs, they are expressed differently. It's not good or bad, just different. He talked to various property owners and other churches asking to share facilities, and we've been on the lookout for shared facilities. They also looked at buying land, but the cost was prohibitive. We've always been, and one of the things that makes us unique, he says, is rather than put money into buildings, we want to put it into people. They've heavily invested in supporting the local Christian clinic and Time Out Shelter, and members have adopted a village in Rwanda. That doesn't leave much money for buildings, he said. And the article goes on. And so, I was really struck by this, how we create not just as individuals, but as groups. And wow, here's a situation where one church, it's like, do we see the good in what we might label bad, right? That the Southern Baptist Church was waning in population, and they made a decision, and they helped to move forward the creation of another church. So don't we create as individuals and as groups as well? And Unity of Payson, we create as a group. Okay, so we remember that we are a divine community, right? We are a divine, inspired idea that happens to be called Unity of Payson. And we have come together to raise and develop our own spiritual consciousness, and in doing that, we impact the spiritual consciousness of the environment around us. We can look to our way show where Jesus, having done the same thing, right? He liked going to the mountaintop all by himself. He also called together a dozen of his best buddies to go and do stuff together in community. And he built a community among those people who were really quite different from one another. But they had a common goal, to live and develop their own brand, their own style, their own belief of spirituality. And we have that same common bond here at Unity of Payson. We've been meeting in this space for 2.5 years. And when we came to this space, it was perfect. And it remains perfect in the sense that it's probably getting to where it's nudging us on out the door to something bigger and better. One of my own personal goals for for initiating a meeting in my own house around Unity was because I wanted a spiritual community for my girls. They've both grown up in Unity. I was going to Unity in Eau Claire, Wisconsin when I adopted Zoya, and was there when we adopted Shing. And from Menominee, Wisconsin, we were in Colorado Springs for a year, which had a fantastic Unity church. And I had a list of things that I wanted in the place that we lived. And one of those near the top was a Unity church. We came here in spite of that, because Payson had some other stuff, and somehow it seemed to be the right place. And ever since then, I have wanted a Unity community for these kids. Now, they love having a Unity adult community, and that's been very important in their lives. And it becomes more and more clear to me that being teenagers, they need a Unity youth community. So my own personal Unity goal for the rest of this year is to do what I can to move us in the direction of establishing a youth program. And there are churches no bigger than ours, smaller than ours, that have youth programs. And even if there are only 2 or 3 Unities and 2 or 3 YOUers, that's all it takes, right? Where 2 or 3 are gathered. That's all it takes. And one of the things we need to have a youth program is
Church.
More space. This space physically does not permit that to happen. So we either need some kind of add-on space that we can just kind of add to this. There was a for rent sign down the strip mall here. I called the other day and it was rented. Just to see if our youth could walk down the sidewalk on Sunday morning. So, there are infinite possibilities out there for how this can happen. And that certainly is a key thing on my radar for the rest of the year. So part of doing this survey, one thing I'd like you all to go away with this morning is, what's on your radar for Unity of Payson? You've answered about 20 or so questions here. But if you had to pick one thing out of this, what's on your radar? What's your own personal piece of Unity of Payson's vision? And how can we work together to get that movement in that direction? So, divine power. We create not just as individuals, but as groups. So let's take that divine power, that divine energy we have, and do what we can with it in our own lives and in the life of this thing called Unity of Payson. So thank you.